안녕하세요, 안녕하세요, hey you, it's Natalia, and oh my goodness, so a few months ago I shared with you guys that I got a job in the overseas marketing department of a Korean skincare company here in Seoul. Crazy, oh my goodness. Next week it will quite literally be 6 months that I've been at this company doing marketing. Crazy. Time flies so fast. Knowing that so many of you guys want to come to Korea and work in a job that isn't related to teaching English, or you're already here and you're wanting to transition into something else, I thought I could share my experience going from a Korean language student to a 회사원 or company employee. In this particular video, I want to talk about what I learned about Korean resumes, how I wrote my resumes, and kind of just share some tips as well as resources on how to go about writing cover letters. So let's jump into it. Now let's talk about resumes, because you can't apply to any jobs if you don't have a resume, or in my case, resumes. Don't worry, I'll talk about that momentarily. When I started looking for a job here in Korea, I was so desperate to find something. Like in many countries, there are different types of resumes that a company can ask for or that you can use during the job application process. There is a standardized Korean resume. It looks a little like this. Yeah. So it asks for all the basic information, your personal info, your academic background, your professional experience, if you have any industry specific certifications or licenses, as well as what your foreign language abilities are, and if you have any certificates or test scores to back up that proficiency. In the over 70 jobs that I applied for, yeah, I applied for a lot of jobs, only a few companies asked for this type of standardized resume, because on the job posting it will say what type of resume they want you to submit. Now I do want to mention that you may have noticed that there's no spot for a headshot on this standardized Korean resume. If you didn't know, most companies will ask you to submit a professional headshot with your job applications. There is nothing illegal in Korea about discriminating against job applicants based on their physical appearance. In my experience, right, because I said that I applied to over 70 jobs, only 5 or 6 of them didn't ask for this professional headshot. And when I say ask, I mean demand. It is required. You cannot submit your application without one. So with this standardized resume, it just means that you will most likely be uploading that headshot separately. Now, if you are applying to large companies, there is a chance that they will not ask for your resume. And this is because they will have you make an account on their job application portal and then manually input all your information into their system. So in the USA, we tend to just be able to upload our resumes, and then this information will be auto-filled into their portal or job application portal. But in Korea, most times they want you to enter everything in manually, and they wouldn't even ask for your resume. Or they would ask you to attach it at the very end of the job application. In those cases, all of those applications were so tedious and so time consuming, and they asked for much more information. Now, when I wasn't using one of these standardized Korean resumes or entering my information into a job portal, I was using resumes that I made on Canva. So if you don't know what Canva is, it's basically a graphic design website that is meant for people like me that don't have experience in graphic design. So like I mentioned earlier, I had 2 resumes. The first was for supply chain jobs and the other was for marketing jobs. So if you're not familiar with my background, I have a degree in supply chain management, and I spent 2.5 years working in procurement before I moved to Korea to study Korean full-time. So my supply chain resume was more focused on my professional experience, what industry certifications I have, what extracurricular activities I had related to supply chain, while my marketing resume was more focused on my content creation skills and experience doing freelance work as a content creator. It also listed out my social media accounts so that companies, if they wanted to, they could go and check out my YouTube channel to see what kind of videos I have experience making, so that they could go check out my Instagram to see what kind of content I have experience making. So both of these resumes were written in English and in Korean. So I wrote the English versions myself, and then I had Papago translate them into Korean for me, because while yes, I do speak Korean, I'm also very lazy and there was no need for me to manually translate things. Why? So I put them in Papago, and then anything that seemed weird to me, I changed. Now, before I share some resume writing tips, I want to take a moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Link. So if you guys remember, a few years ago, I interviewed one of the most famous polyglots in the language learning community, Steve Kaufman. Yes, I did. I interviewed him about how he goes about learning languages from scratch. And in that interview, he said that there were two things that you absolutely needed. The first was motivation. And the second is to learn the language in context. So with these things in mind, he co-founded the language learning platform Link. Link gives you the ability to import the content that you love into its content library. So YouTube videos, Netflix, articles, podcasts, everything, anything, pretty much everything and everything that you want into its content library, so you can immediately start learning new words and new phrases. So previously, your favorite content had to have closed captioning or a script or be made up of text, like in the case of a news article. But I'm so excited to say that Link actually released a new feature pretty recently. It's a transcribe feature. So now, even if your content does not have one of the previously mentioned things, you can still study with it because Link can transcribe the content for you. So now that I've been working full-time, I've been using Link to advance my business Korean. So our CEO loves to send out company-wide emails with articles that he would like us to read. So I will take those articles and import them into Link so that I can get more familiar and learn, not even just familiar, learn the words related to the skincare industry and to marketing, right? Because I love my job and I love my company and I want to advance in the company. And I know that speaking good business Korean is one of those things that I'm going to need to advance in my career here in Korea. Link saves you so much time. I remember like back when I was studying with K-pop lyrics, I would have to print out the lyrics and then highlight the words I didn't know and then go to the dictionary and find the definitions and then write it down and all this stuff. And that's not even like actually studying. That was just preparing me to study. But with Link, you basically get to start learning immediately, right? Like you don't have to go search for the definition because Link already has it there for you. So thank you to Link for sponsoring this video and providing us all with a lovely language learning platform. You can check it out using the link in my description box. Now, when it comes to tips on writing your resume, there are 3 things I think you definitely need to do no matter what type of job you're looking for or applying to. So I will start off with the most basic thing and then go to the least basic thing. Yeah, deal? Deal. Okay. Number 1, please put your location on your resume. Like I know if you don't live within Korea, you're kind of like hesitant to put that you like live in Germany or that you live in the USA, right? Because you kind of, I get it. You're scared that they won't want to interview you if you are not in Korea. And you're right, they probably won't. But it does mean that the companies that do contact you are ready to sponsor your visa. They are ready to bring you to Korea. It's not unheard of for them to hire someone that is outside of Korea and bring them in. Is it unlikely that they'll do that? Yes, but it's much better for the company to know ahead of time, because the last thing you want to do is get an interview, be super excited for it, right? And then they say, hey, show up in Gangnam at this location at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Because they usually set up, or at least in my experience, they set up the interviews the same week that they contact you. So it's not like you can just like fly to Korea real quick. You're gonna have to then have this awkward conversation of like, oh, I don't live in Korea yet. And then they will probably either ghost you or just say, sorry, this job is only open to people that currently reside within Korea. Don't like get your hopes up like that and then have them fall as a consequence of your own actions. Tip number 2 is to include your topic score on your resume, even if it's a beginner level, right? Even if you have a topic score of 1 or 2, please put it on your resume. Okay, I know the topic, like I hate the topic. It's not a good indication of your Korean abilities. It's really not, but Korea is so focused on test scores and certifications. It's beneficial to put it on there, even if it's not some like level 5 or level 6, it's some advanced score. When applying to jobs, I noticed that some jobs, they would say you must have a topic score of 4 and above or 5 and above. And you had to submit that like certification. Like it was not an option. You had to submit it or you were not allowed to submit the job application. So if you don't have a topic score, I highly encourage you to try and go take the topic. Like I know it's not a fun exam. It's not easy to prepare for. And I know depending on where you live, it can be very difficult to travel to go take it. But if you can, I highly encourage you to do so. Tip number 3 is to put your visa type on your resume. Make it bold, make it big, okay? Communicate to the company whether you are looking for sponsorship or not, because the last thing that you want is for a company to call you up for an interview. You go to the interview like you prepared, or especially if the interview was going to be in Korean, like you prepared to answer all these difficult questions for them to then basically tell you that they do not sponsor visas. Now you've just wasted precious time that you could have used to apply to other jobs that might potentially sponsor a visa. Basically just make it so that the companies that contact you know and are open to sponsoring your visa. And if you are someone that's on an F-series visa, meaning you don't require an employer to sponsor you, make that known, because like you golden. Because I have learned that companies here really don't like sponsoring visas, and I understand why. Having gone through it, it took 4 months for my company to get my visa approved. I get why they don't want to do that. It takes so long, it's very stressful, and it's a lot of documentation for the company. Let's move on to cover letters, aka the bane of my job hunting experience here in Korea. So out of the 70 plus jobs that I applied to, I only ever wrote 6 cover letters, which here in Korea they are called 자기소개, which actually translates to self-introduction. So in the US, a cover letter is very freeform. You kind of decide what you want to include in it, what you don't want to include in it. In Korea, it can be like that. It can be very freeform, but it can also be more of a essay where they give you a prompt. In my case, the first job that I ever applied to here in Korea required that I submit 6 자기소개s. Yeah, so the 6 that I ever wrote were all for one job. 6 자기소개s. It was very stressful, right? Because I had to write them in Korean, and they were very weird prompts. Very weird prompts. I'm not gonna share what company it was, but it was intense. It's very intense. And after that experience, I basically decided that I was not going to apply to any jobs that required me to submit a cover letter because it was so time consuming. The likelihood that I would be interviewed, considering that I needed visa sponsorship, was so low that I felt like it was just a better use of my time to apply to jobs that did not require a cover letter. So if you're going to be braver than me and you are going to apply to jobs that require you to write cover letters in Korean, then I'd like to give you some advice, okay? So the first thing I think you should do is go to YouTube and look up 자기소개 쓰는 방법. And I know if you don't speak Korean, you're not going to be able to like benefit from this information, but you're applying to a job in Korea. Like, I'm sorry. Like the people that have the best information on writing a good cover letter for a Korean company in Korea, it's going to be the Koreans. Okay, I'm sorry. There are lots of videos for specific jobs. Like you can find videos that'll say how I wrote my cover letter to get a job at Samsung, how I wrote my cover letter to get a marketing job in blah, blah, blah. Like you can find videos like that. So if you speak like high level Korean or I guess just upper intermediate, like you can try, like you should go for it. Go find those videos and watch them and find out like how the Koreans are saying that you should write a cover letter. From there, I would start writing your cover letters for whatever jobs you're applying to, whether they have those like freeform cover letters or if they have more like essay prompts cover letters. Start writing them and then have a Korean speaker check it for you, whether it's a friend, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a spouse or whatever. Like have them check it for you and make sure that nothing is like crazy weird. I'm not saying they should correct it to the point where it sounds like you're a native, because you also don't want the company to think you have like really good command of Korean and then you go in and they try to talk to you in Korean and you very obviously don't. But like, you know, make sure that there's no like super like rookie mistakes in there. Well, I did not write that many cover letters during my job hunting time. The endings that we are told to use in writing essays, you can use those, but I was told from my italki teachers who looked over my cover letters that it is better to say 씁니다, like 갑니다, 희망입니다. In the next video, I will talk about where I did my job hunting and more about what the application process was like after you submit your resume and stuff. If there's anything specific you would like me to talk about, please feel free to suggest it in the comment section. Also, if you have experience looking for work here in Korea, please feel free to share it in the comment section. Like, I've only ever done job hunting here once, so my experience is limited. And thank you to Link for sponsoring this video, and make sure to check them out with the link in my description box. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. 다음에 봐요, guys. Bye.